Greetings, everyone. We're extremely excited to be at the 2021 International Conference on Technology, Knowledge, and Society. Today, we're going to be talking to you about a paper we put together called Remote Language Revitalization Efforts During COVID-19, a Digital Decolonization Approach. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves. Graham, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. White piaya isquis pal kin sinaichkst kin suchmat mayam kels hat in soch chin sin mat mayaten I skoi in isitat squeezed in kikoa less wily squeezed. Hello everyone, my name is Pat. My English name is Graham, and I am Arrow Lakes from the Colville tribe, and I am a teacher at the Salish School of Spokane. My mom's name is Ini Sitat, and my grandpa's name is Les Wiley. And Garen?
Hello, my name is Garen Hilaire. I'm a postdoc researcher at MIT, and in this project I helped organize and connect folks to get together and undertake the research we're going to be presenting on today. Richard?
Yep. My name is Richard Colwell, and I am a senior at MIT studying material science and engineering. And during this past summer, I was lucky enough to work in the teaching systems lab and work on a lot of projects, including this one. I conducted part of the literature review and also attended weekly meetings to discuss the research approach.
And my name is Chris Buttimer. I am also a postdoctoral associate in the MIT Teaching Systems Lab. I'm a former public school teacher. I have a literacy background as well as training in universal design for learning. And my colleague in the Teaching Systems Lab, Garen, introduced me to Graham, and then Richard jumped on the project, and we all really worked together to bring this paper to you.
So, like I said, I am a teacher at the Salish School of Spokane in Spokane, Washington, and we are a heritage language school. So the language that we speak in Selk'chin, Kaval, Okanagan, Salish is critically endangered. It was moribund for almost 50 years, so there were no new speakers being raised in the language. And so we have a generation of fluent elders who are in their 60s and older. And so all of the teachers and all of the students at the school are language learners. And so our approach is to bring together parents, children, and grandparents in a space where they can bring Salish into their daily lives again. Is there anything else I should add, guys?
I don't think so.
And as we said at the beginning, we took a digital decolonization approach to the project. And where that is really based from is a report that I authored when I was a PhD student at the Open University, contributing to innovating pedagogies. And in digital decolonization, there's really three principles that you focus on achieving, which is coming up with digital designs that help connect with a shared history, support a critical perspective on the present, and providing tools for communities to shape their futures. So the really important point here is that when you're working on digital decolonization, that the digital effort comes to fruition in real life, right? So that you move from that digital space into that physical space and that personal space where you're actually affecting the lives and members of communities. You can access the report on the link for the Innovating Pedagogies report from 2019.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what the research approach was. And so there was one main question that we sought to answer, and that was, what is the role of technology in language revitalization, which speaks to produce speakers and communities of speakers? And so in particular, we wanted to consider both video conferencing and flipped classrooms, and whether or not these two methods detracted or enhanced Salish teaching and learning. So the study was designed to be an iterative process in which the research team collaborated with people in the local context working within their communities. And so in particular here, working with Graham and his students. And so we used a design-based research, or DBR, approach. And the team met weekly to support Graham in planning for lessons using UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, as well as digital decolonization, which Garen just described. Graham then implemented these thoughts into his lesson plans throughout each week of teaching. The flow steps in the research follow the DBR approach as seen on the table on this slide. In phase one, the identify the problem stage, the team discussed the learning objectives for the week with Graham. And then in phase two, the team focused on different teaching approaches. And so we looked at 3 different modalities. These are in-person, flipped classroom, and video conferencing. And we thought about how native language revitalization and universal design for learning principles could be integrated into these lesson plans. In phase 3, Graham implemented these proposed solutions throughout the week and used these different teaching modalities for 3 different groups of students in the classroom. And then finally, each week, at the end of the week, Chris conducted interviews with Graham in order to reflect upon how these different modalities either positively or negatively contributed to Salish teaching. These reflections then went into considering solution development during the next week. Next, we'll discuss some of these findings and outcomes of the research.
Great. So we wanted to share 2 salient examples from the research with you today, which we think shows the real power of digital technology to both support native language revitalization and in particular to do it through a digital decolonization approach. So one of the big findings that we had from our study is that digital technology can create intergenerational connections. I have a quote here from the paper. If you're watching at home, which you are, feel free to pause right now and read the quote because I will not be reading it directly. However, I do want to point to a few salient pieces which are highlighted in bold. So first is the use of what's called Salish Tutor. And Salish Tutor was a piece of software that was created by the elders who are language speakers, Salish language speakers, in order to capture the voices, the pronunciation, the vocabulary of the language to teach it to new learners. And that was a key part of using our flipped classroom model. The students who had access to Salish Tutor would use the program, would learn the languages, could pause it, could use a glossary that was involved, and then they would practice their language through video conferencing tools with Graham as their teacher. But one of the things that was really interesting about Salish Tutor is that the voice that was captured in Salish Tutor was from an elder named Samtitsa. And the students had actually met Samtitsa before. However, she lives up in what is now referred to as British Columbia, in Canada. And so the students were actually able to hear Samtitsa's voice while they were learning language. So you can see this connection between the generation of speakers that are still alive, as well as the new generation that are learning a language. And you see an interesting quote here from Graham, which says, "With our language, we have so few speakers that it's good for you to just listen to tons of archival audio of all these people." So not only are the students listening to the pronunciations, listening to the words in context, so on and so forth, but they're also listening to an elder. And Graham posited that Samtitsa would actually be tickled to know that, when she made these recordings, I believe it was 10 or so years ago, that they aren't just out there, into speaking into the void, that they're actually being used by a new generation of speakers, which we thought was a really neat way to use digital technology to create those connections between the past and the present, which again is consistent with the digital decolonization approach.
And very similarly, I'm not going to read this entire slide to you, but you can pause it and read the full quote to yourself. The piece that I want you to focus on here is the part of asynchronous learning that really jumped out to me, which is, sometimes you ask elders, questions about, well, how things work, and they're like, well, that's just how it is, which is hard for when you're a learner because you don't know how it is. That's what it means to be a beginner. And so using VoiceThread, the part that was striking was that, you can stop and get these people to really explain something that, they know so well, they've been doing it their whole lives. And so having it be time-stamped and having it be a way to expand on kind of their casual knowledge that for them seems very surface, but when you're coming in at something fresh, it's a way where you can dig deeper without kind of ruining that moment if it's asynchronous. And so that was a really interesting thing to explore and learn about in this project.
Yeah, and again, you can just see how digital technology connects the past to the present and prepares, gives these young people the tools to be able to shape the future as well. We do have a paper that is hopefully coming out in the next year or so, but we're also happy to talk with you about other aspects of the paper and any other ways that we can help you think about how you can use digital tools to use a native language revitalization approach through a digital decolonization lens in your context as well. And we would be really excited to hear from you all. I know that the Institute, the website, conference website has commenting functions. So please feel free to leave comments, and we will do our best to get back to you. All of our contact information is listed here, and we thank you very much and hope you have a wonderful conference.